What's up, guys? Just got back from my ride on the new 2022 Yeti SB120. How sick is that? Do you guys remember when the Yeti SB4.5 came out? 2016, 2015, right around there. Such a fun bike. This is what all that work Yeti's engineers have done over the years, going from the 4.5 to the SB100 to the SB115, and now today with the SB120. It even has a water bottle holder. The original Yeti SB4.5 didn't have one. It drove me crazy. Anyway, stoked to share this review with you today and share some of the footage from this ride. First of all, big shout out to Salt Cycles who got this bike for me. This bike just came out like a week ago. It's November of 2022, and Salt Cycles was kind enough to get me on this bike. You'll see in the video today the trails were a little snowy, a little wet, a little muddy. We did the best we could on this review. We're going to talk about how it climbed, how it descends, who I think this bike is for, and how it compares to other bikes in the category. This is a category I spend a lot of time in. If this is your first time to MTB Yumyum YouTube channel, my name is Jason. I do bike reviews, and I love short travel 29ers. I've spent the last 3 years on an Ibis Ripley. It's also 120 mil travel in the rear and 130 in the front, just like this SB120. And actually, looking at the numbers of this bike, I honestly think Yeti looked at all the success Ibis has had over the last 3 seasons and said, okay, dudes, let's make a Ripley comparable bike, okay? So you're, what, 66.5 degree head tube angle, 76.5 degree seat tube angle, on a size medium, 455 millimeters of reach. I've got a 50 mil stem on there. I'm 5'8". Bike feels good. It feels like the right type of position. If you're more of like a sender type guy, maybe get a little shorter travel. If you're a little bit shorter, a little shorter stem, but I like the 50 mil stem on here. It felt good. Climbing, I'm trying to remember if I've ridden a bike in recent memory that just has such pedal efficiency and such support in that shock as this bike does. I mean, 10 out of 10 pedaling efficiency, just scoots right up the trail, lickety split, awesome. I can't think, like I said, I can't think of a bike that just such good pedal efficiency. I kind of break climbing up into 2 categories. First, what we just talked about, that pedal efficiency, but then like, how does the bike get up actual technical sections of trail in like a low traction scenario? The king of the short travel trail bike is the Pivot Trail 429 in terms of low traction scenarios, technical scenarios, just getting up obstacles that are a little difficult. Now, my trails today, I don't have a lot of that, so I didn't get it tested out, but just feeling how supportive this bike is, it kind of makes me think it might not do as well as the Trail 429, but it climbs awesome. I also kind of heard from the guys at the shop that this is like Yeti's like short travel full suspension cross country bike. And I almost can't say that with a straight face, because for the last season I've been riding an Ibis XE, which is an actual cross country bike. This is a trail bike. I mean, do we even need to talk about that? This is not a cross-country bike. I mean, I guess you could set it up super lightweight with light wheels and light tires and stuff and try to do some cross-country stuff with it, and that would be cool, kind of like how I used to do with my Ripley, but it's not a cross-country bike. It's got way more support and traction, and just, it feels really balanced. I mean, it just feels like a trail bike, you know? And I mean, it's kind of a heavy bike too. It's heavier than the Ripley. It's heavier than the Trail 429. It's heavier than the Transition Spur. You know, this bike full XTR, I mean, I got it built out really nice, and it's still 27 pounds, you know, so with Recon tires on here. So it just kind of is what it is. It's a short travel trail bike. There's no reason to talk anymore about whether or not it's a cross-country bike. Climb's awesome. I'd say it climbs as good as the Ripley in terms of just getting up the trail. And downhill, more supportive than the Ripley, just feels really supportive. It's more damp feeling. It feels more like the Trail 429 by Pivot. If I could ride 2 bikes back to back, I'd want to try this one and the Pivot Trail 429 and kind of see how they compare. It's a very neutral riding position. Sometimes Yetis have a tendency to be like hyper race focused, right? And they want you in that really just like aggressive, just hammering the trail positioning, I think, in order to find the balance point of the bike. Got to load up the front end of that bike quite a bit. The Yeti SB130 was that way. This 120 really isn't. I'd say it's a pretty neutral feeling, balanced bike. It felt good. It wasn't super poppy and lively like the Ibis Ripley is. That one's a little more zippy feeling. This one's more balanced, more stable, more like the Pivot Trail 429 actually. Yeah, I would love to ride those bikes back to back. I think now that Yeti has moved away from the SB130 and just pushed it up to 140, right? I think this one kind of fits that role kind of nice. It's kind of like a better version of the Yeti SB130 actually. It doesn't have the capability of it. That bike had a Fox 36 up front. This has got a Fox 34. It's not quite as slacked or raked out as the SB130, but it kind of gives you that same sense of like, okay, let's go fast. This bike is stable enough. This bike is got enough traction to really kind of let off the brakes. On my ride today, I ran into a lot of snow patches and ice patches on the trail, so I never could fully let the dragon out, you know, and really just go. And that's not my fault. That's Yeti's fault. This is all on Yeti. Who the hell releases a bike in North America in November? Yeti, come on, dude. Let's go. September gives me 2 months to ride the bike. So if you buy this bike, you can just stick it in your house and stare at it for the next 3 months until the trails thaw out. And you can go skiing, and this will be waiting for you in March. And that's where you're going to get the actual review of this bike, because I'm not going back out there on those trails. I'll ride the lower trails that are dried out more and you can actually go faster. But man, those trails were sketchy today. So that's the best review I can give you on this bike today. You know, it feels longer and more traction than the Yeti SB115. It feels more stable. It's not quite as twitchy as that bike. I think for slower speed riders, you know, people who like maybe your son or daughter's on the NICA high school or middle school mountain bike team like my daughter is, and you don't really need to go send it all the time. I think the Yeti SB115 actually could potentially be a little bit better bike than this. This is more stable. It feels a little longer. Very neutral riding position though. It's probably not as fun as the Yeti SB115 was. It's more capable. It gave up the twitchy, fun, zippy feeling for a more capable, well-rounded bike. That's the answer. It's more like the Pivot Trail 429. It's just a really solid, well-rounded bike. This is the type of bike I think most people out there should probably be riding. I'm going to try to ride it back-to-back with the Ripley, the Pivot Trail 429, and even its predecessor, the Yeti SB115. So, did I say that right? The predecessor? I think that's right. Anyway, thanks to Salt Cycles for getting me this bike. They've got the Yeti SB120 in stock in all the colors. I'm obviously on the Yeti blue, the turquoise color today. But go check out Salt Cycles. They got all the bikes in stock. They can custom build it for you top to bottom. Put nice MV wheels on it like I have here. Gucci XTR, best shifting drivetrain in the business on here, even though Yeti doesn't offer XTR, which is another thing I don't love about Yeti. But the bike was fun. The bike was super fun. All right, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.